And we're on air. Hello everyone, I'm ClockworkCartoon, full-time villain, part-time streamer, and welcome to a very special, very different stream today. Anyway, this stream will be all about Yu-Gi-Oh! Custom cards, which is something I've honestly wanted to do more content of for a while now. Now, as I had posted on Twitter, I will be showing, well, at least one custom card that was submitted. Unfortunately, there weren't that many submissions, I guess you could say. So we will be looking at only one. But it will at the very least be an in-depth look, and I'll be able to put together, or I'll have more time to put together custom cards with chat. Now then, other also experiments that we'll be doing today, since I won't have Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Master's background music to fill the empty air, I am going to try and use this, well, DMCA and Content ID free music that I found. At least that's what they said on their website. This will be a very experimental stream, and I hope you can all hear the music well enough. Now then. Why don't we begin with that custom card that was submitted by Wasteland Hatter Productions. Let's see here. Actually, I don't know how loud it is comparatively. I mean, I hope that my voice is able to carry over the music without drowning it out. But let's see here. So submitted by Wasteland Hatter Productions, Clownwork the Clockwork Corpse. Oh hey hearts! Just in time to look at the first and only submitted custom card. Clownwork the Clockwork Corpse. Let's see its effect. This monster cannot be destroyed in battle. If this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this monster to the field by tributing one monster you control. Okay, so it has battle protection and self-recursion. You take no battle damage in battles with this monster, and it gains attack equal to the attack of a monster it battled. Okay, so it kind of has an illusion monster effect here. It cannot be destroyed by battle, and... no wait, not taking any battle damage. No, that's not an illusion effect. The illusion effect is that neither monster is destroyed in a battle, but also taking no battle damage with this monster, and it gains attack equal to the monster battled. Okay, so at the very least it'll get stronger over time. Now here's its interesting effect. When this monster is targeted by an effect except its own, roll a d6. 1. The effect is negated, or they must choose a different target. 2 or 3, negate the effect. 4 or 5, the effect is negated, or you may choose a different target. Or 6, you negate the effect and take control of the monster, or set it to your field if it was a spell trap. So then, let's break this down. First off, it is a very interesting effect that kind of, it's non-typical effect disruption or protection. Granted, it doesn't have any inherent effect to make it be targeted by effects. So what I would recommend is obviously the creation of a, I'd say, continuous trap that forces your opponent to only target this card with card effects, or at least if you don't want to give it an inherent effect. As for the different effects, now of course, it is a dice roll. So it won't exactly be the most reliable card. It's not going to be a top tier or anything. But it could, I could see this having a place in gambling decks. I will say, there is some oddities. So with a 1, the effect is negated, or they must choose a different target. This one is strange, because it technically is 2 options, but it doesn't specify whether you as the player choose it, or if the opponent chooses it. It also is very... Oh, actually, one thing about this that is pretty good is that all of the chances negate the effect. It doesn't matter what you roll, the effect will be negated if it is targeted. However, there is some difference. I don't think one works though, because if the effect is negated, then it wouldn't go off, so they can't choose a different target regardless. So one would make more sense as being, they must choose a different target. But if you force a card to target, then how does that interact? Huh. Is it like an effect lock? Regardless, very interesting. Can't see it being anywhere in the meta exactly. I could see it possibly working as its own archetype. This whole with effect targeting shenanigans, changing targets and whatnot. Definitely a card that would need some more support or some better clarification on its randomized effects. Overall, though, Wasteland, very cool card. And I'm glad that you had submitted this for the video. But alas, as that is the only card to review, most of this stream will be more focused on actually creating cards with the help of chat, as well as just doing art. It's really just an art stream with a Yu-Gi-Oh! Custom card theming. Which actually makes me wonder if I should change it from just chatting to art stream. Now this is very experimental, so we're learning. Now then. It is open. And hold on. I really should change this to an art stream real quick. Let's see here. Here we go. Again. And that's not how you change it. Here we go. Info. Art. This makes more sense, all things considered. So then, how to go about actually creating a custom card? There's a few ways you can approach this. Well, two main ways that come to mind, and that is, do you start with the flavor of the card, or do you start with the card's gimmick? Or, well, not card, archetype. Now, typically, I would always recommend starting with the gimmick. You want to focus on your archetype's gameplay loop, just as you would want to focus on a gameplay loop if you were making any game. Now, for those of you who don't know, a gameplay loop is the series of repeated steps that make up a game's gameplay. So say you have a simple resource collection or clicker game. The gameplay loop is gain resource, spend resource on tools, use tools to gain more resources, and then spend resources on tools. That is a very simple gameplay loop. Now applying that to Yu-Gi-Oh! A deck's gimmick could be something like what Cyberdark has. Their gimmick is equip shenanigans. They are all about equipping monsters from the graveyard, but their theme is of course these evil draconic machines. Now then. I'm going to quickly put into the chat I hope this works, a poll to decide, how does this, decide what you all think would be better to start with. You want to start with the gimmick of the archetype first, and then base the theme off of what fits that gimmick, or do you want to create the flavor of the archetype first, and build the gimmick around that? Let's see here. Let me just type it out. And let's put it on for 1 minute should do just fine. Quick 1 minute pull to the side. Now, when it comes to what I'd actually recommend usually, anyways, where was I? Right. What I'd recommend usually is to start with a gimmick. I mean, you can start with the flavor, that's perfectly fine. But generally, that can cause some issues if you're not careful. After all, if not every kind of flavor or theme necessarily lends itself to a very clear or strong gimmick. For instance, I think an example of an archetype that is very flavorful but has a very weak gimmick is weather painters. The flavor of them being all of these painters of the weather and their back row being continuous spells and traps that act as their canvases is really cool. And it seems that gimmick has won. Well, then, in chat, any ideas for what would be cool gimmick? I initially plan on putting them all together in a wheel, and then deciding it based on randomness and seeing what you all suggested in chat. However, considering the small size of the stream, I would probably be actually real quick. Let me go pull up the wheel of names. DP something funny. What? What do you mean DP something fun? Like Destroyer Phoenix? Well, there are many different... Okay, one thing I should clarify though is that there is a difference between necessarily do something funny. Anyways, I will clarify that there is quite the difference between necessarily a gimmick and a win condition. Now, a gimmick is the core mechanics of a deck. Going back to Cyberdarks as the example, their gimmick is, of course, equipping monsters from the graveyard. However, their actual win condition, they technically have two. Win condition 1 is Cyber Darkness Dragon with its ability to negate a bunch of times. Win condition 2 is Cyber Dark End Dragon, which is an unaffected towers. The gimmick is equipping monsters, the win condition are their boss monsters. So what gimmicks can I think off the top of my head? Well, one thing I always did want to really experiment with, and I have been working on an archetype with this concept for a while, which is I'd like to see a take on a battle phase focused archetype that's not just OTK Turbo. Really now? Honestly, I agree with your sentiment, but that's a really hard one to do in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Most battle phase or focus decks pretty much have to be going second OTKs. At least that's how the game has progressed. If we're being honest, most archetypes want to win on either turns 1, 2, or 3. Anything past that point is either a happy little accident, or you're just playing with really low power decks. I did dual Perform Mages, which were a good example of a battle phase focused deck. So, let's just put here Battle... Actually, I'd feel remiss if I just put one suggestion from chat and then filled the rest with my own suggestions. So then, let's focus on this battle phase gimmick. Now, how... Battle phase, and you want it... It'd be best for it to not be an OTK. How would that work? Okay, thoughts that immediately come to mind, funnily enough, Venomanagas and their attack reduction gimmick. That could be an interesting thing for a battle phase focused deck. I always did have this idea for an illusion deck, or some other kind of battle phase deck, where instead of destroying monsters outright, it instead lowers the attack or defense of monsters, and then destroys them if it hits 0. A sort of slow burn battle phase deck, if you would. But the real problem with any kind of slow deck is also slowing down the game. I guess there are external traps you can use it, stuff like Summon Limit, for example, but yeah, no one really likes floodgates. You'd have to include some control elements, in which case... Let's see here. Let's quickly set up a Google Drive to begin writing these ideas down. There we are. Do mind the bells and whistles of Google Docs. Let's see here. So, Archetype 1. We know that we want it to be battle phase focused. And we know that we don't want it to include an OTK. Which thus necessitates that it has control elements to slow down the game. And then there was also my suggestion of attack reduction instead of outright. Tiki, the game doesn't need more floodgates. If we're going to use floodgates, we're going to probably use Summon Limit. In fact, no, actually. In fact, let's quickly look up Summon Limit right here. Just so I can really know, or make sure I know. Yep, Summon Limit. You can only summon more... Nope, neither player can summon more than 2 times per turn. I mean, that's certainly a way to slow down the game. Maybe a built-in version or something similar? Actually... Wait. So how are we feeling about this attack reduction concept? Like a re-examining of Venomanaga's gimmick. I'll put a question mark on that. Alternatively, battle focus also then usually necessitates multi-attacking. Anything, Art, since you suggest this, anything particular you want to see? I just want to make sure that I'm creating an archetype based on what you're imagining. How about a card that forces opponent's monsters to attack if able to, and another card that forces your opponent's monsters into attack position? Alright. Force attacks and forces attack position. With its battle phase focus and destruction thing, kind of like a reverse Karakuri effect. Which also makes me think that the best monster type for this would be illusions. Because illusions have that whole built-in battle protection gimmick. Granted, we could also just give our monsters any type and just give them the illusion gimmick, but it feels kind of lackluster to not give illusions their illusion effect, you know? So, Hearts, how are you feeling about illusions and their battle protection / non-battle destruction, or are you thinking more that they should be able to destroy monsters through good old battle? Set them... Oh, my idea is you could set them on your field if you're the turn 1 to guarantee your opponent battles your monster to activate your effects. Set them. So, flip? Okay, illusions sound cool. Ah, right. So illusions that gain additional effects when attacked. Okay, I think we have a pretty solid thing. So, it is an illusion deck that forces attacks and illusion forces attacks, additional effects whenever they battle. And I think, I don't know, I still think the whole attack reduction thing holds some merit. After all, it would be useful. Actually, do they need to be destroyed? If the opponent's monster is sitting on a bunch of 0 attack monsters all in attack position. Let's see here. Ah, right, the extra deck. Of course, there should be effects that activate when attacked, and when they attack. Now as for the extra deck Tiki, well, the extra deck is, honestly, personally, I see the extra deck as a lot of, like, external flavor. How about we actually leave this one up to chance? Fusion? XYZ? Synchro? What else? Pendulum? And if we're including Pendulum, then we also have to regrettably include Link. I still don't like Link. Ritual, because we might as well round it out. And am I forgetting anything? Oh, right. No extra deck / main deck bosses. And then we'll also have a roll +1. Because some archetypes will use multiple summoning methods, so this will help us to really figure that out. Now then, let's see what we get. Pendulums. Well then, Hearts, since you're the one leading our little exercise, do you trust the wheel's judgment? Or do you want to roll again? And I'm totally asking this out of respect to you and your creative vision, and not because I am also hesitant to be creating a pendulum archetype. What else? Well, Pend effects could be continuous effects that force your opponent to attack. Right! Because pendulums also have spell effects. Alright, we'll work with pendulums then. Yeah. So, it's a pendulum archetype, and since it's pendulums, it also necessitates links. Yeah. Alrighty, so pendulums necessitates links, we have the battle, its whole battle gimmick, and pendulums do work for swarming effects. So then... Okay, I think this is a fairly good thing. We have attack reduction, we have forcing attacks, we have forcing attack positions, we have illusions. And also, because illusions is certainly a monster type, but we also need to consider the attributes. So let's go with water, fire, wind, earth, light, dark, all, or +1. After all, a lot of, if we're being honest, save for a few specific types, when it comes to attributes and most monster types, it's really just a lot of flavor and maybe some support. And let's roll! Oh, interesting! Fire illusions. That's not what I meant to type. So fire illusions, pendulum monsters. Okay, we're getting things together. Now, then, let us work on the... Let's just call it first card. Now then, here's a... for ads. Well, then. I do hope everything's going right. I also really should have asked if music could be heard in the background. I might as well take this time to change it to my favorite font. Where is my favorite font? Where? Ah, there we go. Ah, much better. Actually, I should probably make it bigger. And let's bold it just to make sure it's seen. Advertisements, an unfortunate necessity. Well, necessity, quote-unquote. More like something that's constantly forced to it. And I'd turn them off if I could, but if Twitch is just going to play them anyways, I might as well at least try to make something off of it. I do hope the music is coming through, and I also hope that what I read was true about them being Content ID and DMCA free. Considering the state of this... I was thinking of the monsters having effects that activate when they get destroyed outside of the battle phase. Ah, okay, that is cool. That is very cool. Like, a sort of an atypical form of effect protection through floating. Or effect destruction protection through floating. Now then, pop quiz everyone. What is the most important card of any archetype? I'll give you a hint. Everyone has them. And They've only gotten more powerful as time has gone on. Boss monster is a good guess, but not the right one. Normal summon close, very close. There is a specific word for these cards. They're the I'll give you a hint. They're the cards. Okay, I'll give you credit for saying circulars, but yes. They're circulars, populars. They're I guess you could say proper term or community given term is starters. Now before, a starter would usually be like a 2-card starter or a 1.5 card starter. 2-card starters being 2 specific cards you need, and a 1.5 card starter simply meaning you need 1 specific card and then 1 of any other card to get it rolling, usually a discard. However, these days, in the age of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Poplar circulars and whatnot, decks need the 1-card starter. The card that you have to search, the card that gets the ball rolling, the card that does everything. And when it comes to pendulums, oh god, do they need starters? Let's see here. So, we know that it is an illusion. Pardon me. Fire. We'll just leave attack and defense blank for now. Levels, we can also leave blank since we're not really certain what to do with it yet. Actually, a starter typically needs to be levels 1 through 4 for the normal summon. I forgot I had that keybind. Real quick, I need to change something or else it'll get very, very annoying. Remove you and remove... where is it? Remove you and replace it with... why? Okay. I had my dash key set to a scene change because I typically never use it on stream, but yeah, when I have to actually type out, of course it's gonna get pretty annoying. And now we want it to have its, of course, pendulum effect. And its monster effect. Make it a level 1 so it's searchable with that 1 sinful spoil card. The one that summons a level 1 fire. Oh, and it also works for 1-for-1. So by making our starter a level 1, it is able to be searched by that sinful spoils card you're talking about, but it's also searchable by bloody 1-for-1, and will it be searchable by Bonfire? What are Bonfire's effect? Fire, Yugioh. Bonfire. Add 1 level 4 or lower monster from your deck to your hand. Meaning, you'd be able to search it with Bonfire, 1-for-1, and that Sinful Spoils card. Essentially... oh, Bonfire is only Pyro. Shoot. I thought it was Fire. Okay, well, it still works regardless. Also, what Sinful Spoils card are you naming? Because that's the other thing you have to always consider when making custom archetypes. You have to consider what it means in the context of the rest of the game. Because all it takes is like 1 card you didn't account for, and all of a sudden, it's broken. And again, it's not like you're using custom cards and like actual Yu-Gi-Oh, so it's a bit iffy. Depends on how seriously you want to take it, really. So of course we have to give it the typical illusion effect, which I'm going to need to search up here real quick. Go. Don't mind me as I quickly try to remember how the illusion effect is written. If this card battles a monster, neither can be destroyed by that battle. Yep. Okay. If this card Battles a monster. Either card can be destroyed by that battle. Now we have this attack reduction gimmick. Now when it came to Venomanagas, one of the issues that often came up was A, it was heavily reliant on Venomous Swamp, because not only did Venom Swamp actually like place your counters, but Venom Swamp, actually let me show off Venom Swamp. Yo. Now, that is a horrible quality, slightly better quality. Place one Venom counter on each face of monster. Monsters lose 500 attack for each Venom counter on them. Destroy a monster if its attack becomes 0 by this effect. Now, that's not what I meant to press. There were 2.5 issues when it came to Venoms. One is that it was completely reliant on your Venom Swamp to both apply the counters and apply the attack reduction. 2, it didn't stop your opponent from just linking off, tributing, or using their current monsters for any kind of material. But with Pendulums, we have a nifty little way around that. By saying, monsters lose 500 attack for every... let's just go with X counter for now. Counter. For every X counter on them. Remember, when making custom Yu-Gi-Oh cards, always look for precedence. If only so you can, like, do the effect text correctly. Monsters lose 500 attack for every X counter on them, and it also prevents more, I guess you could say, crazy things from going on. For instance, if we put this as a monster effect on every monster, then it stacks for every monster. You have 5 monsters, all of a sudden one counter is a minus 2,500. But by limiting it to the Pendulum effect and the Pendulum Zone, that means at most, your opponent will only be losing 1,000 per counter. Okay, balance is questionable on that as well, but it's better. Maybe we should make it be 200 attack for now. Always want to start off low in order to make sure you can buff it, because let's face it, buffing your cards is a lot more fun than nerfing them. So this means that if you have 2 Pendulum monsters in your Pendulum Zone, that'll be a minus 400 attack for every X counter. Now, do we want to include any of Venom Counter's other effects? If this is a battle phase focus archetype, it would probably make more sense if it said, if this card battles an opponent's monster, place 1 X counter on them. Because this gives the illusions at least a bit more uniqueness beyond their simple, a bit more utility considering they can't simply destroy monsters. And it also means that with every attack your opponent's monsters will become weaker, making each illusion technically do more damage than the last. So these can act as the core... These can act as the core effects of our archetype. It is what they are built around. Now, we need to figure out, what does our starter need? Now, typically, all the starters will say something like, if this card is normal summoned, and since we also want to be able to use 1-for-1 with it, we also want to add normal or special summoned. Alternatively, if you didn't want it to be like an on normal or an on summon effect, you could do something, make it an activated effect, or so something more along the lines of what, say, what was it? Redstone of Legend has, where it isn't an on-summon effect that helps it act as a starter, but rather it is an effect that you activate to tribute itself. So if this card is normal or special summoned, and typically starters will want to be searchers. Add one. One, let's just put X again, X monster from your deck to hand. Or should we make it one X card? Card is usually a safer bet. This is a very typical card in Yu-Gi-Oh! You'll see it a lot. The on-summon searcher. I feel I've gotten a bit ahead of myself, because I just realized there was very much one important aspect I forgot to address. Which was exactly what Tiki was saying earlier. Let me tell you. What is this deck's win condition? Now, of course, we could just say attacking a bunch. But it's not just attacking. This isn't an OTK deck. So attacking a bunch isn't necessarily the way you want to win. If anything, a deck like this would be better, makes more sense as a grind deck. A deck that beats the opponent through attrition. A deck type that you really don't see in Yu-Gi-Oh! Often, and I feel that it's a great shame. Again, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so fast, typically you don't get that grind game scenario. But I could see this being fun in lower power formats. Like Exodia decks. I wouldn't call Exodia a grind game deck. I mean, I guess most versions of Exodia are grind decks. There are two different kinds of Exodia decks. Well, 3 different kinds of Exodia decks. There's Exodia stall decks, which just stall the game until you plan to draw into Exodia. Exodia OTK decks, which try to pull off some crazy combo, hope it doesn't go interrupted, and search all of them. Or Exodia Millennium, which is its own thing. So we know we want to grind the opponent down, and if we're not destroying their monsters, that opens up the opportunity to almost like lock down their monsters. A control deck in the form of preventing them from getting rid of monsters that have been weakened. Lock down monsters. And after all, if they can't get rid of their monsters by linking them off or using them as materials for other things, then, slowly over time, that means that their board might end up filling up with monsters they then can't get rid of, and will just keep getting weaker over time. So we want to grind the opponent down, we want to lock down their monsters, and we want to attack a bunch. Which really makes me think that anti-extra deck should be considered. Because ultimately what this deck's probable biggest weakness will be is having to deal with your opponent's extra deck. Not in the extra deck cards themselves, but in the ease that your opponent can just get rid of the cards you weaken. Which... What if we also added And how would you have their... Oh, wait, better idea. Yu-Gi-Oh! Reda plants. Maybe we could add effects that punish your opponent from getting rid of their weakened cards. So more of like a soft, for discouragement rather than necessarily negation. Thing is, I can see that kind of ending up or getting too close to a Exo Sister situation. Which, I guess to explain more on that front, when I say Exo situation, I mean, while Exo Sisters is technically supposed to hate graveyard interaction, technically, since all of their effects are mostly based off getting bonuses from a graveyard summoning in order to punish your opponent, that actually means you want your opponent to perform that action. So, by including punishments rather than prevention, that means you actually want your opponent to get rid of their weaker monsters themselves in order to activate your other effects. Abyss actors have the same problem where all of their powerful back row effects only trigger if your opponent destroys their cards, and so you almost want your opponent to do that, and it feels less of a punishment and more like a please do this thing. Now, if we don't want to go with outright lockdown, there is a way you can sort of mess with. Like, hearts, like when a monster with an X counter leaves the field, deal burn damage equal to attack it had. Or similar idea to that. I just realized I forgot to include one thing. I am so sorry. I completely forgot to add this Twitch chat. Let me fix that real quick. Add. I am very professional. I am very good at what I do. And now we go back to Chrome. Where was I? Right. If we want to do something that is less, that is less prevention and more or less discouragement and more prevention, without being full control or lockdown, we also have Predaplants as an example. Now, what Predaplants do is that they place counters that change... hold on. Now, what Predaplants do is that they place counters that change your... How do I... Ban. That change levels, or change a monster's level to 1. This doesn't completely stop extra deck summoning, but it can mess with synchros and XZs specifically. Even some fusions can be messed up if they are level dependent. Other things you could also do is you could do things like change their attribute, change their monster type. In fact, if you combine all three, change attribute, change monster type, and change level, then you can effectively lock down most decks, since the vast majority of links, fusions, XZs, or synchros will require very specific monster types, attributes, etc. The only thing you won't be able to prevent necessarily is archetype-specific cards, like XZ's monsters that say 2 monsters of an archetype, or links that say monster of an archetype and one other monster, or very, very generic cards like links that say 2 effect monsters. But also, let's just write down that Because that burn idea is also a good possibility, but... but if we say it leaves the field, then that means you want to get rid of your opponent's monsters. But if they're illusions, then you can't destroy monsters. Personally, I think that Lockdown makes more sense for this style of deck. However, again, Hearts, you're the one coming up with this idea, so I want to check and ask by you, what do you think would be better? A lockdown focus that prevents your opponent from using monsters as material, or do you want to stick with this, what would you call it? With this punishment? I guess, right, to rephrase, do you believe in prevention or punishment? That sounds so weird out of context. Not a big fan of lockdowns, I prefer punishment. Punishment it is. Let's go. And since it is this punishment will be very important, if your opponent how to say, if a monster on the field, actually, if an opponent's monster with X counters leaves the field we're going to need to figure out some kind of precedent, because I want to say leave the field as material. But that seems a bit odd. This X counters is sent to the graveyard as material for the special summon. I love something that the opponent can play around if they're smart. Okay, in which case this works better. Sent to the graveyard as material for the special summon of an extra deck monster. But this also means that pendulums and exes. So here's what we could do. We could have it like this. If they're sent to the graveyard as material for the special summon of an extra deck monster, deal damage to your opponent equal to the, let's say, combined original attack of the sent monsters. Now we could do it like this. However, not only am I not entirely sure how the wording for extra deck monsters works, as they will often specify as synchro material for a synchro summon, or as fusion material for a fusion summon. And they never really say just as material for an extra deck summon. It's always very specific. But then again, I guess there might not necessarily be any precedent for that not to be the case, so we'll say this is more on the experimental side. And it also has one glaring flaw. Pendulum monsters and Xyz summoning completely immune to this effect. Pendulum monsters won't be sent to the graveyard, so they won't trigger the effect, and monsters used for the Xyz summon of a monster also didn't get sent to the graveyard, so they won't trigger this effect. Now, Hearts, with that being said, do you still Are you still on board with this idea, or do you have a different idea of how to word it necessarily? Hmm. Alternative. Well, there is also the alternative of just making it a flat when your opponent summons from the extra deck. Isn't just leave the field better as a condition? Yes. But there is a lot of weird wording when it comes to that. Essentially, like, I guess the main thing is that I'm not sure if there is a precedent for an effect like this. Leave the field as material for the special summon of an extra deck monster. I'm also not certain. Hold on. Let's quickly. Yu-Gi-Oh! Do monsters used as XYZ material leave the field? I'm still in images. They do not technically leave the field. So, while this does solve the deck's weakness to other pendulums, not as material, just leaving the field at all except by battle. Oh. Oh. Leave the field. Now, granted, this still leaves the deck's weakness to Xyz summons. Because from what I can tell, Xyz materials, or monsters use as Xyz materials, do not leave the field. Wait, don't activate. Yeah. Okay, so from what I can tell, since Xyz monsters used as Xyz material don't leave the field at all, this deck still has a blind spot in Xyz, but we can't just have it be an all-rounder, necessarily. We can't just yeah. I mean, we really do have to consider, like, are we making this deck with the intent of making it as good as possible? Or are we making a deck that is just fun? Let's just focus on making it fun. Having one blind spot to a extra deck summoning mechanic isn't gonna break the bank. And if we really think it is a problem, then we can always go back and change things around to make it stronger. Now then, where were we? Now, considering how we're not doing lockdown, but rather, I guess the punishment doesn't really necessarily move towards a win condition. So if we're doing attack a bunch, that means that we also want multi-attacking and warming. Our win condition won't necessarily be in a boss monster or a towers, but rather it'll be in getting as many monsters out onto the field as possible. Field. Oh, we should also probably accept by battle. Deal damage to your opponent equal. Except. Actually, this doesn't prevent. This also means that you can trigger this effect if you send it, which would kind of be counterintuitive. Leave the field except by battle or a. Leave the field except by battle or the effect of a card you control. Not sure if that's exactly how it'd be worded, but I don't. Typically, cards like this will say if your opponent sends, or an opponent's card. They don't really make mention of cards you control. But I think this covers most of the bases. Lose attack, counter focus. If the counter leaves the field by an opponent's own actions, then the punishment triggers. And we also have the illusion effect and the battle effect. Now, the thing is, we can't really continue filling out what the starter does until we have a better idea of what the end board looks like. I mean, swarming makes sense for pendulums, and obviously, we're going to need a link. Because, honestly, all pendulum decks need their own personal bloody... what's it called? That one card that every pendulum deck needs to run. Electromite. Right. Actually, let's look up Electromite. See what makes it work so well. If this card is Link Summon, you can add one pendulum monster from your extra deck face up one. Add one pendulum from your deck to your extra deck. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why it's so good. You can target one other face-up card you control, destroy it, then add one face-up pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. Okay, so it's just really good at cycling and sending. And technically acts as a searcher. So we'll call this one Link 2. Because it is a Link 2 Electromite stand-in. Illusion Fire. Tech and Defense will come later. And Monster Effect. Gilgamesh. Maybe something like that DDD link that sets scales from the deck. Let's see here. Gilgamesh. Yu-Gi-Oh! Gilgamesh. Okay, another link to holy card text. Hold on, is there like a... There we go. This is slightly better. Actually, no. Hold on. Where is Wikipedia? Yu-Gi-Oh! Wiki, oh wait. There you go. If this card is special summon, you can activate this effect. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this term except DD monsters, and place 2 DD pendulum monsters with different names on your deck in your pendulum zones, and if you do, take 1000 damage. Okay, if this link summon card is destroyed by battle. Yeah, you can special summon... Okay, well... Let me think. So, we have If we don't want to just rip off Electromite, Gilgamesh is a pretty cool alternative. So it would be like... How does Gilgamesh have it written? If this card is Link summoned, let's change it up a little bit. Wind. Place 2 X monsters with different names in your pendulum zones. Right, from your deck. This makes it a slightly Yeah. It doesn't allow it to be to trigger on every special summon, only when it's link summoned. But it would also it would be pertinent to say you can only special summon X monsters the turn you activate this effect. Because that would probably be a necessary restriction. However, as I'm writing this, there is an alternative if we don't want to rip off Gilgamesh exactly. Hey, Sora! I'm currently making a custom archetype recommended by Hearts, an illusion fire archetype with a focus on the battle phase and a rework of Venom's Venom counters. Basically, the whole gimmick is slowly making your opponent's monsters weaker over time and punishing them if they try to get rid of their own weakened monsters as material for summons. Now, if this link summon card, place 2 X monsters with new name, it's from your face up extra deck. In your pendulum zones, yada yada yada. Now, technically, yes, this is a weaker effect compared to Gilgamesh's effect, but there are some key differences than, say, your typical DDD. With DDDs, there are a lot of different pendulum effects, so making sure you pick the right ones or have the right cards in your pendulum zones is important. But with our current deck, all our pendulum monsters have the same shared pendulum effect, meaning it doesn't really matter what monsters are in your pendulum zone when it comes to their effects. Now what would be important is, of course, levels. But this can also be gotten around. For instance, if we were to do something like, say, pendulum scale. Let's say we make this one a pendulum scale 1, make the other one a pendulum scale 5, and then have all the remaining cards be levels 2 to 4, then once again, actually it does kind of matter, because it definitely means you would have to link 2 monsters with different scales in order to effectively use it. So it once again becomes a matter of how powerful do we want to make this. Well, Hearts, time for another point to ask you. Of these 2 effects, which do you think which would you prefer for this Link 2? Would you prefer just a straight Gilgamesh ripoff, or do you want this extra deck gimmick, possibly with some added benefits for having the weaker effect? Because remember, we can't just overload a monster with a bunch of powerful effects. The secondary is a lot weaker, yes. However, it also gives us justification to give this Link monster other powerful effects. If we gave something as powerful as search 2 from your deck, place them in your pendulum zones, then, well, we have to actually place restrictions. After all, Abyss King here has a 1000 damage. I mean, I guess you could technically say that the big difference is Gilgamesh is on any special summon, whereas this one is only on Link summon as a weakness. So maybe you can use that as justification for not having that self-burn effect. And Gilgamesh does have a second effect. I will say, do we want to force our... Art says second effect is fine. Alright. And Sora, I will say, do we want to force our player into not having anything in pen zones? No, we definitely want, actually, place up to, just in case you already have a monster in your pen zone. And I would say we definitely want to have, this is a swarming deck, so having monsters in our pen zones will be very important, especially since it's the pendulum effects that actually get the attack reduction online. Oh, cool, up to wasn't there, so I wanted to check. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I did catch that. Actually, if, we don't want our opponent to be equal to half. This means that with 2 monsters in the pendulum zone, they'll be taking the full attack damage, and only with 1, they'll be taking half the attack damage. Just a little way to make sure the burn isn't too oppressive. Let's see here. So these are some pretty good, pretty basic effects as is, when we can always add more later. Now the link to for the penned effect reducing attack, how exactly are we doing that? Oh, simple. All of our pendulum monsters have the same pen effect. This. Monsters lose 200 attack for 200 attack. Ignore that. For every X counter on them. If an opponent's monster with X counters leaves the field, except by battle or the effect of a card you control, comma, deal damage to your opponent equal to half the combined original attack of the same monster. This means that with so long as you have 2 of your archetypal cards in your pendulum zone, that's going to be a 400 attack reduction for every counter. And it also gets around something like, say, Venom's big weakness, where they were reliant on a field spell to reduce attack. And it's not as overpowered than say, giving all of your monsters that attack reduction effect. This means that at most, you're only going to get the effect off twice. If anything, having that limitation of you can only really have 2 pendulum monsters in your pendulum zone works as a really nice way to balance these effects. Or at least place a limit on them. Now we have the link to and we have a pendulum. The link to itself acts as more of like a pseudo starter or extension necessarily. But we still don't really have a big panache, a real powerful boss monster. In fact, if we want to do something like that, then we'd probably want a Link 3. Because remember, links for some ridiculous reason, or well, pendulums for some ridiculous reason, are limited by the fact that they must be pendulum summoned to link zones if they're in the face-up extra deck. Meaning a Link 3 for a swarming deck would be very important. Also, we should definitely we'll say 2. Let's say 2 X monsters. X pendulum monsters, in case there are none, with different scales. Because at the this acts as like another limitation, but it also means that if you are to do summon it, you're guaranteed to be able to pendulum summon. What if, let me think. It has a lot more restrictions than Gilgamesh for this generally the same price. What does DD? 2 DDD monsters. More restrictions. So what if we added the effect if this card is Hmm. If this card is Link Summoned, let me think here. Hmm. Because making the Link a searcher would, or at least something that adds another pendulum monster to your hand, would also help to guarantee that you have at least one pendulum monster in hand to special summon. That would be pretty good. Yeah, but having all these effects on Link. How about you can discard one? Nah, this not a non-once per turn searcher. Don't forget that beyond the pendulum and depending on the format, Electromite. Right. Because we also run into one of the other big weaknesses and going in the extra. Right. Hmm. The other big weakness of Pendulum is the amount of resources you need to effectively use them. Because this assumes that you have cards in hand you can Pendulum summon. Hmm. Can we remove the you can only summon X monsters the turn you activate? We can't remove it, or else it becomes a way too powerful as a powerful. But we can do something different. You can only pendulum summon. Hmm. So the archetype doesn't need the archetype to do everything. Right, right. Hmm. Still, I would say having its own built-in that uplink too is important. And we also have to consider, like, if we don't put in some kind of restriction to special summoning, then that means you basically get 2 scales off the bat, which can be used to special summon or pendulum summon anything from the hand. Hmm. I would still say that for balancing reasons, we can make if we do feel that they are still too weak, then we can remove the restriction. But as it stands, I think to be safe, it would be best to maintain some kind of restriction at least on the pendulum summoning aspect. We don't want this to turn into, well, not a Yu-Gi-Oh! Floodgate, but open the floodgates in the traditional metaphorical sense. Hmm. I think that restriction is fine for now. Since our starter is a level 1 and can be searched with Sinful Spoils card, we might want to run the Dial Spellstar engine to search it, and we can't do that with that restriction. Right. Well, in which case, this Pendulum Summon restriction actually kind of is able to get around that, because Diabellstar doesn't Pendulum Summon. So, this will allow you to continue special summoning your other monsters, while not allowing you to use your Pendulum Summon to get out anything. Yes, 1 for 1 indeed. When the hell? Ow. Okay, weird thing just happened. I swear to you, I don't have my phone plugged in or charging, but somehow I swear it went from 79 to 80%. That is freaky. Now then, pendulums will need to facilitate more... We're focusing on swarming. Pendulums need links to facilitate. With link 3, okay, I have... idea? I think I... That's group 2 plus X monsters. There's, let's say... Or, let's make it a bit generic, including a illusion and fire monster. I always like these kind of effects that say include monsters including specific type, specific attribute. Right, this is supposed to be an illusion. So here's an idea I have. Since this is a very swarming thing, what if we had a link 3 with this effect? If this card is link summoned, send up to 3 pendulum monsters in your hand to your face up extra deck. Draw 1 card for each one sent by this effect. Link summon materials for links could be 2 or more monsters, including at least 1, so the archetype isn't too xenophobic. Okay, yeah. Including 1 X monster. You know, as cool and funny as I think this effect would be, resource-wise, it doesn't make sense, because it does mean you still need at least 3 in hand. I mean, this would honestly work better as maybe like a spell. Some kind of spell. Huh. I'll have to hold on to that. But what we need is stuff to get this link 3 in a swarming deck. We have the link 2 that sets up the scales. So if we have a link 3, it has to set up the swarming. Or facilitate the swarming. Which means it needs to either get cards and pendulum monsters into the hand, or into the face-up extra deck. Thinking. What say you in chat? What effect do you think would work on a link 3? Or would be out on a link 3 to send cards to the extra deck? I mean, we could just say if this card is link send add one or send. Yeah, and maybe it'll be send 1 X monster from your deck to your face up extra deck. What? Now you do that. It was Electromite that had that inbuilt searching thing. Act, yada yada yada. Take 1 other face-up card, destroy it, add 1 pendulum. And that was my lights going out. So a Link 3 was his Electromite's effect would actually be worse by all accounts. But that just means we can give it other effects to really help facilitate it. And my lights... Okay, something is up with my lights. There's a slight chance I may lose power. I am hoping that's not the case. Am I still coming through? Is everything still working? God, I hope so. Okay, good. Wait, did I just realized how long... Oh, I forgot YouTube does that. Like, if you have a playlist going on in the background and you're idle for too long, it'll just, like, stop the music. How long has that been the case? By the way, you can hear the music in the background, right? I hope so. Can confirm. Okay, good. Now if we're doing attack focus, then I also think it would be pertinent if this card said something along the lines of X monsters this... Oh, hearts. During the main phase, you can add X monsters with different names from your deck or face-up extra deck to your hand up to the number of monsters your opponent controls that possess X counters. Brilliant! I'm going to try copy and pasting this. Never mind. I have to type this manually, I guess. In the main phase. Or actually, it would probably be phrased as during your... Because why would you want to activate this on your opponent's turn? Your main phase 1. Oh, during your main phase, because you might also want to activate this in your main phase 2 after the battle phase. Would you put this on a finisher or on a... This is the kind of effect you'd want to continue to facilitate, not really a game ender. And I guess, considering how we're not going for the OTK, putting this on your boss monster does make sense. Oh yeah, it's illusion, so all of our illusion monsters have that battle effect. Because, again, the focus of this deck isn't necessarily to destroy the opponent's monster, it's to make them weaker and weaker until you're just like attacking into zero attack monsters. Basically, the point is to have our opponent turn our opponent's monsters into useless zero attack monsters that just sit there as we hit them. Which also probably means we're gonna need like some effect shenanigans. Oh, Sora. Yeah, let me actually finish. We can... Wand Voices... Oh yeah, that's definitely going to be something we need to have. Like, that we discussed that earlier, forcing our opponent's monsters into attack, which I'm realizing... Yeah, since this one has so many restrictions and is so light, we could have this one be... If this card is... This up on the field. would it be? Change all monsters your opponent controls to attack position if they are in face down. Okay, hold on. Attack position if they are in face down. Defense position. Flip them face up. This is more like a clarifying statement than necessarily its own effect. And oh wait, and for probably safety's sake, I want to put it on both links. Since there's a high chance that this link 2 will be gotten rid of just for the link 3. Actually, in that case, Names. Different names. From your deck or base up. Extra deck. Two. Oh, a graveyard effect. That would actually make more sense. Card is sent to the graveyard. Change all monsters your opponent controls with X counters to face up. Okay, 2 back. What's a girl to do? Lying on my bed staring. What do you mean after banishing? You make... Oh, like banish it from the graveyard so it can't be looped. I mean, changing all of your both monsters into attack position, I don't think that effect is strong enough on its own. Yeah, it's strong in the context of the archetype, but I wouldn't exactly call it... Oh wait, we can make it quick effect too. Quick effect. Banish this card in your graveyard. That could be something. Monsters whose battle conditions are changed by this effect cannot change their battle positions this turn. Alright, I'm still writing with link 3. Right. X monsters, extract 2. Give me a bit to write this down real quick. And up to the number of monsters your opponent controls with these X counters. Honestly, this actually might be too powerful even for a Link 3 boss monster. Because that is a best case scenario. Best case scenario, this is a +5 per turn. So it'd probably be better if it was more like then you can add X monsters with different names. So Link 2 sets up the pendulum scales, but then you're going to need to Link climb into the Link 3 without pendulum summoning. And this would be well, you'd assume that this would happen on turn 2, but since we're focusing on the battle phase, that means you'd have to activate this effect. This effect would only really work if you activate it in your main phase too. I don't think having a searching effect depending on X counters doesn't make sense because you want this. Ideally, you'd want search. Oh, I have it. Extra deck with up to the number of monsters your opponent controls. Because the X counters will only be added after the battle phase. And since you want to swarm the field before the battle phase, this makes somewhat more sense. And this would also... And just for safety's sake, because this is still like a big plus. Okay, let's say first card adds a monster that can, or adds a card that can special summon one other monster, and it's going to be a scale 4 monster. That's 2 cards on the field to then summon the Link 2. Link 2 triggers the pendulum scale, but you'd still need at least one, and you'd need at least one other monster on the field to then go into the Link 3. Link 3 comes out, adds to the face-up extra deck, then actually, why send one monster from your deck to the extra deck face up when you can just add no real point in adding to the face up extra deck in this instance, because you can just like add like this anyways. Let's say assume your opponent has 5 monsters, that's a +5 on Link Summon. Scales active. A +5 best case scenario. A +5. Because, okay, looking at the combo, let's say you play your first card here. First card, then adds a card to your hand that gets you a second card that is able to, let's say, special summon another X monster. Well, that gets you to the Link 2. Link 2, then either you need you need a card that can special summon another monster, or you have another monster on the field already, you get into the Link 3. Link 3 triggers, say your opponent has a full board, 5 monsters. Well, now that's a +5. You pendulum summon, now you have a full board. Yeah, this would be way too powerful. Best case scenario, this guarantees at least one other pendulum summon. Okay, going back to here. First card, add card, special summon second card, 2 cards into Link 2. Then you'd need a third monster, which I guess wouldn't be too hard to create. In order to get to the Link 3, Link 3 guarantees at least one monster in the face of extra deck. And assuming that you didn't use any other cards in your hand, or assuming you don't have any cards, that's at least a guaranteed one. As I do think like one important thing to definitely have with this deck is A, or is this A, and because if there's one thing every pendulum deck needs, it's protection for your pendulum zones. Oh, good night, hearts. I'll continue working on this the best I can. I do hope you check out the stream again to see the end result at the very least. Oh, hold on, hearts. Before you go, I have to ask one question because I planned to ask when we got further ahead, but thematically or flavor-wise, I will, but thematically or flavor-wise, visually, what were you thinking with this deck? It's illusions, fire, but what do you want them to look like? You know, kind of like how Madolchi has its pastry theme, the Cyber Darks have their their evil-looking dragons. What do you think illusion fire would be themed after? Hold on, I need to like take a drink. Finally, if the thing that comes to my mind is actually more like maybe creature made entirely of flames like the Flame Veil. Fire spirits. I see it. I mean, a bit vague, but also opens a lot of possibilities. Fire spirits. Yeah, I can work with that. I mean, funnily enough, I was thinking like more demons, but that'd be fiend-based. I don't know. Fire illusions just makes me think like fiend stuff. Weird. But yeah, fire creatures. Flame Veil. What do Flame Veils look like? Have a nice nap. I'll be sure to continue working on this. Probably will be working on this for like most of the stream. Oh, these are what Flame Veils look like. Dang, I was thinking more fire, less human, to be honest. Fire spirits. Fire spirits. Yeah, I got ideas. Now where were they? Where was I? Where was we? Laval's. Right. Shoot. Pardon me as I quickly... Laval. These things. And these are cool. Have a good night, hearts. And thank you for dropping by and suggesting this lovely archetype. I hope to make the end result good. Definitely with protection. If it's linked on someone, this guarantees at least one more. And if we're doing a battle phase on attack focus deck, then I feel that this should definitely be in effect. X monsters this card points to an attack twice per turn. Yeah, that'd be. We don't want it to be like too heavy, but how about while your opponent controls a monster, so this will prevent you from just overwhelming your opponent by attacking to the face. And since illusions can't really destroy monsters, it also just means that so long as your opponent has one monster, your illusions are just going to start pummeling them. Alright, alright, alright. Oh, idea Sora. Nice. Normal or special zone? I'd like one of our X monsters to have a Toon Bookmark esque effect. Oh, do you mean like the wait, why would the protection one in particular? Effect protection. Oh right! I forgot, that was the other thing we discussed. Protection. Either protection or punish. Actually, probably protection. Protection from card effect destruction. Or just not leaving from battle. Yeah. Okay, since this one is definitely getting linked off, then actually that'd be good for our starter here. Quick effect. If a X monster you control would be this monster. Let's say monster or monsters, just to make it general, will be destroyed by card effect. Actually, you'd think it'd be better on a different card. Really now? Why not the starter, though? I mean, the starter is almost guaranteed to be sent to the graveyard for the illusion fire here, and honestly, after the search, well, right now, after this illusion starter here is searched, putting it on the starter feels like putting all our eggs in one basket. Well, right now our starter only does the one thing, compared to something like bloody Poplar or Circular, which have all these different effects. Next. I mean, I see what you mean, but my counterpoint to that is, our starter's already going to be sent to the graveyard anyways, and as of right now, there is no utility to keeping it around on the field. So, if the starter is always going to be sent to the graveyard for the Link 2, then giving it this engrave effect banish for protection makes sense. The control would be destroyed by a card effect. You can banish this card in your graveyard. Negate the destruction. And then we can also add in, like, we can just simply give other ones even more protection. Or does effect destruction protection or whatever. Now then. Okay. As a bare bones, this isn't the most perfect or strongest archetype so far. But we're starting to see the combo take form. Or at least the way to get the ball rolling. We have our starter. Starter adds can normal or special summon a necessary card. Alright. Which means the next thing we have to do is our second card. So we have our first card, now we need our second. For thematic's sake, let's just make it a level 2. Pendulum scale 1, pendulum effect is the same. And it has the typical effects of this archetype. Make it too much of an uphill battle to win. Fair enough. Fair enough. But we definitely probably want to have like some kind of punishment. We want to discourage. Well, actually, without them being able to destroy by battle, there's no real reason for my opponent to. If my opponent can remove it by battle, meaning they do have to kind of use. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, fair point. Where was I? Right. So now we go on to second card. Now, mind you, okay, let's actually first card to first. I better naming monster starter, and then we have second monster. That's not what. Punishment is probably a lot more splashable. True. Second. So if the monster starter here is what you want to normal or special summon on your first turn, or second turn, because we are making a going second deck, which also probably means we're going to need to have more going second staples. Then second monster here is the thing you want to be able to either have an inherent summon effect using this, or you want it to be what you special summon or search with the second card. Nah, probably special summon. Dark Ruler. Dark Ruler. Right. Negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent until he also for the return. Your opponent takes no. I mean, yeah, I could see that. Considering how we also, like I said, we don't. The plan isn't to beat the. This isn't an OTK deck. Like Hart said, not an OTK deck. We're going for the grind game, weakening our opponent's monsters. That's the gimmick. Right. What are they? Right. Wait. No. Wait. Yes. Right. Okay. So if monster starter is our starter, second monster is a card we want to search with starter. Which means it needs an inherent summon condition. Which the easiest one to do is if you... Oh right, I should also probably add... I forgot I need to add this or else it gets way out of hand. You can only activate this effect of X monster starter once per turn. Have to add that. Need to always be careful with your once per turn effects, or else shit goes crazy. We don't want more. We don't need more infinite loops. If you control an X monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only use this effect of X monster, X second monster once per turn. This is the absolute simplest way you can handle this. Starter adds second monster special summons itself, go into link 2. But it also requires that you have a link 3. Also, actually no, we probably won't. Probably maybe make this. How about. There we go. Because we need them to be different scales. That's the important part. And for now, we'll keep it as a levels 2, for the most part, a level 2 to 4 archetype. This also means you can't, like, pendulum summon the starter, which, I don't know, I feel like that's just, like, a neat little thing to include. Question is, do we want another searcher? Because we also need to be able to get to a third monster here. Unless we give... Nah, if we giving the link to an ability to inherent summon. None of these are... I just realized we can't give this card a in-grave banish protection. It's a pendulum! It doesn't go to the graveyard! We'll have to rethink that, but later. And did my YouTube playlist pause again? I swear to God. Oh, it just got to the end. You know, I really have to get a better handle of doing this music. Very Skullcrabat Joker-esque. Let me read Skullcrabat Joker. I don't know why I keep, like, deleting. I always end up searching it anyways. Let's see here. Skullcrabat Joker. Normal summoned. Yeah, so it's basically just Master, big starter. Oh, ads. Well, that gives me time to rest my voice and think on... Holy shit, already at 2? Guess card is... What if Yugioh... Kara... Curry... Oh! Yeah, Where is she? Okay, I think I have an interesting idea. As soon as folks come back from the ads, that is. Yeah, Karakuri, I wish you were better than what you are. This card is face from field, turn to your main phase. Turn main phase. Okay. Normal. Summon. 1. X monster. In addition to your like normal summon uppercase? Yeah. I have to like go back and fix all the wording. Are the ads still going on? How long are they? Right, okay, well, welcome back, and have an interesting way to allow us to get more monsters on the field without it just being more special summons. Behold! Second monster, while this card is face up on the field, once per turn during your main phase, you can normal summon 1 X monster in addition to your normal summoner set. This isn't as powerful as, say, a special summon, and it still requires you to have at least 1 other X monster in your hand, but it has some pretty interesting stuff you can do. Say you start off with Monster Starter. Normal summon, add second. Special summon second using its inherent summon effect, because if you control an X monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, you can only... actually I should probably... If you control X monster... Since this is a going second deck, we probably also want to add the stipulation. And your opponent controls a monster. Just to hammer that point in. It can be special summoned. And this gets you to your third card through a normal summon. Or your third monster through a normal summon. It also means that if you start out with, or in the chance you start out with Monster Starter and Second, you could actually normal summon second monster first, then normal summon Monster Starter, and then use your Monster Starter for a different search other than second monster. I mean, it's not really that much of a difference, but it's a neat thing you can do. Of course, this does mean we need third monster. Because, well, I don't know, having a third monster with a different name just makes sense. How many monsters do we need? We need the starter. Starter doesn't really add things, so it would be the starter, second monster, third monster to summon off the second monster. And since it's swarming, we probably want to have... Okay, swarming focus, so at minimum we want to have 5 monsters, let's say. Well, not necessarily... Yeah, ideally 4 to 5. So let's just outline that now. Outline that now. Sorry. So we have second monster, third monster, fourth monster, and fifth monster. So, first monster is a... I'm gonna... Okay, maybe not fifth monster, since that is getting like a bit much at this point. The list is getting long. We haven't even gotten to spells and traps. So we'll go up to fourth monster to keep our numbers small, and so I can also just neatly do this. So that's make this a 3, 5. Just because I want that, like, it just fits so neatly. Now then. Well, you never play every card. Yes, but I also do want to have some time in the stream where I end up drawing these cards, or at least doing some basic sketches of what they could look like. I mean, we're already at the 2-hour mark, and we're still in the conceptualizing phase. And again, I mean, this is honestly pretty normal when it comes to card design. Especially card design with a lot of, like, deliberation. I mean, if I was just, like, rushing through creating card after card, I could probably make, like, a bunch, but, you know, it's supposed to be an involved process. Now then. So, second monster. Now then, what? First monster and second monster are get the ball rolling. So, third monster and fourth monster should round us out. Currently, what does this deck really need? Well, for one, it needs effect protection. So, let's say third monster here says, once per turn. Let's go with just the most basic effect protection you can do. If a X monster would be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, negate the destruction. Very basic, very simple, and I don't think this necessarily needs to have one of those. Yeah, actually, I don't think this necessarily needs to have a hard once per turn restriction. I mean, it's a single effect destruction negate. It's not gonna break the bank, I feel. Actually, assuming, yeah. And then for this one, let's say fourth monster. Now this is something I think the deck also needs. If you take battle damage from a battle involving an X monster, place one X counter on the opponent's monster involved in that battle. I don't know if that's the exact wording, but I would say prevent rather than negate. Okay, this is actually a blind spot I'm not sure of. What is the linguistic or ruling difference versus, actually, prevent versus negate? Prevent versus negate, effect, text. Preventing an effect usually means stopping it from activating at all, while negating effect means it activates but resolves without effect. The effect happens but doesn't. Alright. Okay, I'd say that's fair. Prevent the destruction. Affect the board, that is. Right. So, since it wouldn't negate the effect, technically the effect would still go off, and any other effects related to that destruction would still occur, it's just that the destruction of the X monster wouldn't happen. Right, okay. I mean, I think this is one of the few times we can actually use when without any issue. Because, like, I'm fairly certain you can't possibly miss timing with battle damage. Surely a card missing the timing would only happen in an effect chain, presumably. Right, if the effect was destroyed then. Right. Because, okay, missing the timing occurs only A, if it's a when effect, and B, if the when condition isn't the last thing to occur. Wait, no, that means isn't the last thing to occur in the chain. Actually, you know what? Since I don't want to deal with the headache that is missing the timing, I'm just gonna say if. Because I really don't want to deal with the headache that is missing the timing. In fact, to anyone who wants to make custom Yu-Gi-Oh cards, just don't use the word when. Never use the word when. It's just missing the timing and the headache that is involved with those rulings is not worth the headache. Anyways, this sort of round out. We have a once per turn effect or destruction by a card effect prevention, and we have something that allows you to place 2 counters should you take damage from one of your own, from battle involving one of your monsters. You know, in order to deal with really strong monsters your opponent controls. Again, not exactly a strong archetype right now. Not a fully rounded archetype right now. I say that in terms of the modern Yu-Gi-Oh meta, where cards have like a bunch of extra deck monsters and have every effect under the sun. If we tried to make a archetype that could match today's meta, we'd be here for the next week. So, this'll work for our purposes. The point is... Actually, if we want this to be... Let's just quickly switch these around for reasons I'll get into later. Because if we want third monster or fourth monster to be the monster we add with the link 3? Yeah, with the link 3, and we also want them to have some pretty high damage. Now then, let's see, what are we... We have the effects, basic effects down. We can remove you, because you don't have defense positions. And we can always just assume that both of these link arrows will be pointing downward towards you. But now, we get into attack. Well, attack and defense. So, how to do this is simple. Go to Google search, search up Yu-Gi-Oh! Level 1 Pendulum. Look at some of the first couple cards, see what their attacks and defense are, and then just use that. So we'll go with 500 for you. And maybe we should go with like 400. Or, considering how this isn't, we can't have This isn't supposed to have stuff in the defense. If everything's supposed to be focused in attack position, might as well make defense 0. So, yeah, this looks good. Add a 50 for... No, I'm not adding a 50. Ugh, gosh, no. That's disgusting. Now I go to level 3. Alright. Let's go with 800. This is a level 2. $200. Really? Yeah, oh, that's not what I meant. Sorry. Let's just get rid of that. Yeah, 500. I mean, that won't break the bank. After all, the last 500 we looked at was a level 1, so this should work fine. I'll say though, very weak monsters. I mean, I know our whole gimmick is weakening the opponent's monsters, but even... We're going to need to go with a different strategy. One that I can't really show on stream for certain reasons. Hold on. Shit. 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 Shit, 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 shit. Unfortunate. Something I hope didn't get picked up, and I'll have to go back to the stream, look at it, cause if what I think happened, I might have just fucking doxed myself. Fuck. God. I really should have opened a Word doc and not Chrome of all things. I can't look. Hold on. Ah, God, I am. What time? 2:28. I'm gonna say 2:27. I need to make a note to double check that. Make sure I didn't just fuck up that badly. But what I am actually trying to do, or trying to get to, what would probably be better, is Dueling Book. Because what I wanted to get to is a way to search up cards. So that allows me to go to, there's only like level 2 and level 2. Order. This one doesn't allow you to order from attack, does it? I what I was trying to do is that I was trying to get to duelingbook.com, but I don't have a duelingbook.com account on my Twitter handle. Hmm. Wait, is this 3 with 1500 attack? Yeah, that's certainly something. Sorry, my anxiety is now spiking. Jesus. It was 800. And then a low 4 is 1800. A link to 2. Oh boy. Actually, hold on, I just realized I can check it on the YouTube side. Be right back, I guess. Or at least a quick little break as I double check. Because Twitch doesn't allow you to go back and look, but YouTube does. Okay, thank God. Whatever weird detection magic OBS has, it didn't pick up what I thought it picked up, so... Okay, thank God. Safe. Back to what I was doing here. I guess the link to it doesn't really matter necessarily what it has. We can just make it another 1800 since the link to is going away for link climbing anyways. And... Okay, now God, I really want to double check now. Just to make absolutely sure that... I am scrubbing to make sure. Yes. Okay, now I am 100% certain I did not just dox myself. Thank God. Now then, what the text we have for link 3 here? 26, 1850, 100, 3000. 25. Okay, so a lot of variety here. That was a custom card. I think since we see a lot of 4s and 8s, I think maybe 2400. That's what I'm feeling. Because assuming that you're summoning 4th monster, maybe another... You're definitely going to be for attack reasons, you're probably definitely going to be adding 4th monster here, at the very least. Or maybe... Nah, you wouldn't really want that one. Okay, well... We've got our general setup here. Now the real question is... Hmm. You, we have, we have, we have most of the monsters. Now, of course, we definitely want to have at least one trap and one spell. Well, actually, probably one trap, one spell, one field spell. Because, let's face it, every bloody deck needs a field spell. I mean, actually, a field spell would make more sense once we figure out what are this deck's weaknesses, and then use the field spell to retroactively make up for said weaknesses. Because that's how Konami does it. So, we'll write these down as... Yeah, let me just... X spell and X trap. Well, we don't see many traps these days, but... Now then. Right now, I think what we're lacking is... Oh, I would say what we're lacking is damage. Not quite. What we're really lacking is more swarming power and good swarming targets. Which might mean we would want a fifth monster, if only so we have more things that can do stuff while attacking. Yeah, we probably want a fifth level 4. Names are important. Yeah. Fifth level 4, pendulum scale 5, pendulum effect, monster effect. And call this one fifth monster for now. Hmm. Ah, you could do a harmonizing magician. Harmonize. God damn it, Dueling Book, why do you have such a short time? Yugioh Harmonizing Magician. It cannot be special summoned from the Extra deck. Cannot be used as material for a fusion. It's pendulum summoned from the hand. You can special summon one. Oh. Oh, that's... Let's see here. If this card is pendulum summoned, while there is an X monster in your pendulum zone. Hey, Zahara. Well, I'm currently working on fifth monster here, which I am thinking of giving a somewhat stronger harmonizing magician effect. X monster from your deck attack position. You can only use this effect of X fifth monster once per turn. It is by far a stronger version of Harmonizing Magician. You know, less restrictions. Hmm. Hmm. Definitely probably gonna want to use that whole cannot be used as material for the prey. Fusion summon or fusion synchro or summon. Or link or Z summon of a monster except a X monster. That should at least put some better restrictions on it. Mm-hmm. There's one issue I would say could happen with this is that fifth monster is pendulum summoned when, for starter is special summoned. In which case we might, considering this is a pendulum, we might want to remove the special summon condition. Otherwise, I can very much see monster starter here getting out of hand. And and we do have second monster here that can kind of facilitate normal summons, so. Hmm. No, wait, no, we wanted to have that special summon in order to facilitate one-for-one shenanigans. Oof. But it would be, then it becomes so very powerful in a pendulum deck. No, wait, actually it doesn't become that powerful because we can't pendulum summon it. It's a level 1, and our scales only go to 1. But then we go back to here. Unless we do one level 2 or higher. Specifically so you can't special summon the starter and get its effect off with the shenanigans. Okay, I see it now. And since it's special summoning another monster, let's reduce it to that. Because then you can special summon, say, fourth monster. Send fifth monster to face up extra. Pendulum summon, use fifth monster to special summon fourth monster, since that's the one with the highest attack. No, we are not doing pen scale zeros. Actually, this effect kind of makes more sense on a lower attack monster than a higher attack monster, so let's switch these around between 4 and 3. Yeah, this just makes 4th more appealing as 5th target, or as the target for 5th. And if we really want, this also allows us for Xyz stuff if we're interested in exploring that. Oh, we can even do synchros if we really wanted to. Anyways. So then... Christ. Yeah. I think... Okay. What we got so far is a good solid base for our monsters, for our main deck monsters and extra deck monsters. Again, not the strongest, but it's a good start in building off point, especially if I want to be able to get this stream done tonight. Now we go into the spells and traps. What do we really need here? Well, for one, what we considered was also a punishment for for a card effect thing. That would make sense for the trap. So a trap, definitely continuous. So it can kind of remain as a punishment rather than like a aha gata mode. Continuous. Then was the effect if in a X monster leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, what would be a good punishment? Special summon one X monster from your hand or graveyard. I mean, that is certainly a punishment. Oh, extra deck. Yeah, that makes more sense. From your face up extra deck. I'll say though, we really do need more ways to send cards to the extra deck. I mean, in which case... how does the timing work? Send one X monster, or X monster from your deck to your base. So this will be like an on activation thing, so I'm not sure how the timing would work if you trigger the continuous trap in response to the leaving thing, would you be able to send then use the if effect? Or would you have to use the first effect first and then wait for your opponent to do the send? Because the if effect is the lingering continuous effect, whereas the send effect is you flip this card face up and then that happens. Yay, I guess that's something to be figured out later. I think it definitely works as a punishment. Oh, and we should also probably add then place one X count. When this card is active, it would be in front of the first effect, I think. Okay, okay. On a monster your opponent controls. Alright. I am very tempted to have some kind of zero attack floodgate. Alright, you can only use extra. You can only use each effect of X trap once per turn. And now, a spell to round things out. I am... okay. Hear me out on this. Well, send one X pendulum monster from your hand to your face up extra deck. I mean, it's kind of like it is technically even. Technically, you go down 2 cards, you draw 2 cards. Sure, one of them is in your face-up extra deck, but I'm sure this is fine. Eh? It's like a super specific draw spell. I kind of like an archetypal trade-in or an archetypal allure of darkness or something. Pretty squib draw coded. Squib draw? What? Right, right. I assume you mean like. Okay, so this is kind of like a stereotype. Squib draw. I'm assuming that you mean that this is a very much a stereotype of many. Oh, it's an actual card? You know what? If anything, this just proves that, yeah, there's a precedent for this. There's a precedent. So, I don't see why not. Why did I minus... I really gotta stop closing those tabs. If anything, Sora, you have proven to me that yes, there's a precedent for these kind of draw power cards with a downside, not really downside effect. So, yes, there's now Expel, send 1 X Pendulum monster from your hand to your face-up extra deck, draw 2 cards. They're probably like, alright, Ad, you can only use this effect of Expel once per turn. Right, gotta remember that. Now, typically I would have it would probably been better to include a spell that, like, did more, but that's what the field spell can be for. Now then. Not exactly. Well, kind of exactly. Now we go do some organization. I mean, the thing is, we don't really have enough cards. Right now, we have a very bare bones list of cards and effects. Actually, wait, we haven't... There's one important thing we haven't decided on. What do we actually name our archetype? What makes sense? Flame illusions. Fire spirit. What makes sense? Hmm. It needs to be some kind of pun, perhaps? Hmm. What a... Fire illusions. Fire ghosts? Wisps. Are wisps fire-based? Are wisps fire-based? Hmm. Hold on real quick. Fire spirits in myth. When in doubt, Google search mythology. What the heck is that? Mythical creatures, phoenix, salamander. You know, I just realized we have salamandrates. A lot of salamanders and salamandrates. We have... Oh, there's a Jinn. Jinn? Wait a second. How do you spell it? Not you, but... Oh, wait, we don't have the joke. I remember these cards that were kind of cool from Rush Duels. They were Jinns with a fire theming. I mean, that could be interesting. Calling them Jins. What are we thinking? Do we think Jins would be a good thing? I mean, I'm not saying specifically we make them. Okay, I think I guess I would kind of like for them. I mean, it would be nice to be able to draw a bunch of cute girls, but and that's besides the point. Anyways, I mean, we could also do imps, maybe. But imps are more like fiend base, and I also probably would make them all cute girls again. Hmm. Being created with smokeless fire, with free will. I mean, Jins here seem to be like the real big standout. Well, Jins and, you know what, to maintain some sense of respect, I'm not even gonna bother pronouncing that and possibly messing that up. I mean, if we really want to lean in on the Venomenog, or on the Venom inspiration, we could best make them a bunch of fire snakes. And actually, that's honestly a pretty good idea. Okay, hold on. We have mirages feel somatic. Yeah, but mirages don't. I mean, yeah, mirages are related to heat, but I wouldn't say they're fire themed. Illusion. Oh, illusions. Mirage. 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 Name wise, Mirage it really does work. But what does a mirage look like? You know? I mean, yeah, there's always that idea of mirages that look like oases. But we can base them on desires. Like, oh, mirages of very... Okay. Well, now we also have to... God damn it, Dueling Book. Now we also must do one more test. Mirage. Because before you name a Yu-Gi-Oh archetype, you have to see how many Yu-Gi-Oh cards already have that in their name. Quite a few, unfortunately. So, let's combine it with another idea. Mirage Jin. Mirage. Mirage Jin. Oh. If they're based off individual desires. Aha. This should... Okay, yeah, this I think works. We shall call them Mirage Jin. Or Mirage Jins. I mean, it doesn't really roll off the top. We can focus on gems and do emeralds and rubies. But then that feels like it fits more for an earth monster. Or earth archetypes. I think we're onto something with like Mirage. We just need something different to really... Yeah, if I do Jins, I'm going to have to make them all look human-ish. And it's fine. How do I keep... I already like click... Overheat. That makes sense. Okay, so... Okay. So let's figure out. Mirror. That's not what it... Mirage. Jin. And let's drop the of in order for simplicity's sake. And then we just quickly... just slap Mirage Jin on every single one. Okay, I feel like this one should definitely be Wish. Or no, wait. Mirage Jin. Actually, yeah. Wish and Lamp. Ah, yeah. Already very... The names, they just come to me. And then we replace all of these. On some of them. So I have to like go back and make sure it all works. Do 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 do. And then overheat counters. Oh wait, no, I still have like more stuff. Like I think that's right. Engine overheat. Overheat. I just need to like sorry that this is taking a while. I just need to like go through and make sure all of my bloody spelling is correct. Or at least my formatting. Don't know why I wrote it like that. I missed one. Then I'll just do this. And we can fix anything else in post. Now we need to figure out what the heck we actually named them individually. As it? Hmm. I mean, that gym thing, what's the idea of desires? Right. Oh, see, yeah, okay. What should I add one? Hmm. Riches definitely would probably be the one. I don't know. Wording wise, it's going to be like... It's gonna annoy me if I don't include that of. You can only use the... And I forgot overheat on multiple things. Yeah, like stuff people would wish for, perhaps. People would definitely wish for riches. Since this one... Ooh, what about Mirage Jin of love? I know, like, typically one of the rules is you can't wish for love. I honestly don't know where that rule came from. Is that just a fabrication of Disney? I want to say that that the rules of a Jin are or rules of a genie, as Disney puts it. Jin, genie, It's hard to say linguistically. I'll go with Jin since that was the original name. It's hard to, but I don't believe that the original Jin had those, or the original concept of the Jin had those rules or restrictions. I know they had this whole thing where, depending on how many years went by, they would give you different things. I think the first they would give you riches, then they would kill you, and then they would give you the three wishes. No, wait, the three wishes came after the original 1001 Nights. Okay, hold on. I'm getting completely sidetracked. Anyways, basically, stuff people would wish for, right? Of, what would this be? Not breaking free will. Right, right. No, but what I mean is, what I mostly mean is, like, did the original Jins have that restriction of you cannot wish for X, Y, or Z? Actually, original in uh mythology. I mean, did they even grant wishes? Yeah. Yeah. Are the one spelled with a D completely different? Yeah, perhaps reveal malevolent or malevolent. Focus fire. I mean, this is I. What would actually be a good? There is like a lot of research that is going to that would be need to be put into it, and whether or not there's a separation between Jin spelled with a D or Jin spelled without a D. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, if I go down this rabbit hole, I'm gonna be here all night. So let's we can take some creative liberties for the time being. Let's see here. What else? What would make sense for this one? And ads again. Yeah, I'm just like naming stuff anyway, so mm, let's go with Triumph. I mean, this is the most battle phase effective one of the bunch. Mirage Jin of well, I think this one's Wish for Protection, Wish for Triumph, Wish for hmm. Maybe this one would actually make more sense for love. At least effect wise. In which case your name needs to be changed to special on this card, you can welcome back. I'm changing Love's name, or trying to figure out what to change Love name to, because the idea of wishing for love makes more sense with this one that summons another monster. You know, what desire could make sense for? I mean, well, both summon another monster, so. Hmm. Okay, maybe we don't need to go too in depth. I guess wish for power. Let's say wish for power, wish for triumph, wish for protection, wish for love, wish for riches. Oh wait, comfort. Shoot. Considering, nah, I think this. We would switch out protect. I don't know. Comfort sounds better than protection for some reason. Now that we get onto the links. Garage. Hmm. I don't know. Wish for security just, I don't know, it doesn't have the right ring to it, I feel. Now, do we want the pen or the links to keep the same naming convention? I feel like the link should have a different naming convention. Still Mirage Jin, but hmm. Well, they still have to have the same name at the very least. Maybe wait. Maybe not technically. And yeah, Mirage Jin. Real quick, hold on. Oh, we have to rush duels. And their genie cards. I keep misspelling it. I keep misspelling it horribly. Cause not you. Well, rockets and bull fair, but it just you. And you all they all use the same concept. Alcohol doesn't really make sense. That's what the hell? Protag. Well, I can't really say protagonist of 101 Nights, because that's not the 101 Nights is a story told. I wanted to be a reference to reference on Nights. Guess Aladdin. Dang, Aladdin maybe? I don't know, that feels kind of lazy. Aladdin, finder of the Mirage Gems. Or hmm. Who found the pretty sure they refer to it just as a genie. Other than the 101 Nights? In the original Aladdin, a poor tailor's son. Huh. Okay, so his name was Aladdin. So, uh, oh. It's a bit of a wordy name, but it works. And, and then you can go into... Hey, what about... We can go with this, actually. How are we feeling about these names? Aladdin, Finder of the Mirage Jinn, and then Aladdin, Master of the Mirage Jinn. Actually, now I'm curious. Does Yu-Gi-Oh even have Jinn cards? Or cards that name Jinn? Okay, let's try... Okay, yeah, they have the... Yeah, okay, yeah, they have the Ritual Jinns. And I guess also La Jinn. And the Rhythm Jinns. And whatever the heck this thing is. Let's see here. Well, would say we got pretty good. Yeah, this seems pretty good. Now, time to put everything into Dueling Book, and then once we get everything to Dueling Book, we can spend some remaining time doing art. And I have been just talking about card design for 3 hours. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's monster. Let's try and get through this fast as we can. Illusion. Abilities. Attribute of fire. 1 pendulum. 1 400 and 0. And now we do the long series of putting everything into the correct spaces. That's riches down. Shoot. Did not mean to have that remain. But since most of the effects are the same, it does kind of simplify our requirements, or simplify how much we need to copy. Oh god, the effect text. You can only upload 1 card per minute. Ah. You know, I thought writing it... Okay, what I typically would do was write everything down just in Dueling Book itself. But I don't know, it was kind of like a pain in the ass to write in these tiny boxes. So I thought, oh, I'll just write everything on a Google Doc. That should speed up the process. I can view everything easier. It'll be great. I did not know about that 1 minute limitation. On the bright side, I do have to make a few changes here. And I also need, in the meantime, I can go back to which one of you did I leave a bloody... You. After power comes triumph. I made sure to delete this effect, didn't I? I didn't, did I? That's why the effect text looks so long, probably. Yep. Gotta remember that. Well, it doesn't really shrink it down that much, but I mean, it's something. And then now the neat thing about these being custom cards on Dueling Book is that unlike Konami, we don't really have to stick to our effects. We can update, change, and edit cards as necessary should we find them too weak. Granted, chances are Konami does that during playtesting, but comfort. Right, anyways. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. And is that the right one? 800 attack, 1800, 4, scale 5. And we have to wait again. It should be too long. So after we get all of these cards in the dueling book, we finally get to the art part of the art stream. Well, I guess it depends on your definition of art. Technically, writing could be considered an art. And game design itself could be considered an art as well. And Mirage in 4, 5, 14. I gotta say, it is odd making these cards with so little in the way of power, I guess you could say. I mean, typically with the archetypes I make, I usually have like one big attack monster or a bunch of big attack monsters that are just supposed to hammer into the opponent. With these ones, I mean, it does lend more to that whole wearing the opponent down gimmick. Let's see here. Upload it? Yes. Now we get into the links. You know, the fatigue, I will say, the fatigue is getting to me. I really underestimated how long the actual card creation process itself would be. I am actually considering maybe splitting this into a two-part stream. Have the card art saved for another day. Sorry if that is a bit disappointing, but right, Rumble today. It's just that going from designing these cards to now we're doing art of all of them. Yeah, that resting is probably for the best. I'll just finish uploading everything. Why didn't it save the hell? I don't know, Dueling Book can be weird sometimes. And now our... No, wait, not our final card. Hmm. I mean, I already have Saturday set as a Master Duel stream. You know what? I think how I'm gonna handle it, I will come back to this probably, but how soon I end up doing another art stream will probably depend on how much traction this stream ultimately gets. You know? I forgot to change the attack, didn't I? Eh. Wait, did this not have... Oh, I forgot to add the illusion stuff. Well, I have the illusion stuff on here anyway, so... Make it a Discord-specific thing. Yeah, honestly... there's a good chance that might end up being the case. I know, there doesn't seem to be that much of a market, but a lot of interest in Yu-Gi-Oh! Custom cards. So maybe I'll just keep custom card stuff to the Discord. Why do you... Alright, I need to make this a 3 and then do this. You know, it's honestly kind of weird seeing... seeing Link monsters that aren't machine, cybers, or some other bunk. Like, I don't know, like, seeing this really sci-fi futuristic card and having a non-sci-fi futuristic monster is weird. Okay, so that's all the monsters down, which leaves the spells. A normal spell. With this effect. And now we'd make a continuous trap. Lamp. I mean, have you met Promethean Princess or Underworld Goddess? Ah, yes, right. Fair, fair. And probably have to wait a few seconds. And in the meantime, okay, based on how much attention and interest this stream garners, that'll probably end up deciding whether or not I do more Yu-Gi-Oh! Custom card streams in the future. Push comes to shove, maybe. I do plan on doing more, or on finishing, or doing an art, okay, I plan on finishing, or doing an art stream to make art of these cards, because I would just feel bad if I didn't finish them, you know? However, if I do continue to do these style of streams in the future, it probably won't be necessarily Yu-Gi-Oh! Custom card streams, like what we did, or what I did now, where it's very involved, very much walking you through the process, and would probably be more like, hey, here are some custom cards I've already made, and now here is my stream making art for those cards. As I really do need to do that for some of my card ideas. And then most of the actual card discussion will probably be kept to the Discord. But hey, at least this was a fun new stream idea. And that should be all of them. This was a fun new stream idea, and to be honest, I did decide to do it on one of my non-typical streaming days because it is such a new idea. You know, kind of a way to make sure I don't, like, break up my streaming. But I am sorry that I wasn't able to get to any real, like, drawing on this stream. But I am really starting to lose that run out of run out of steam after going through this design process and talking so much about designing cards. Regardless, for those of you who came, I thank you all for joining me. Those of you on Twitch, I hope you can stick around for a bit as I look for some of the raid. And for those of you on YouTube, thank you very much for joining, and I hope to see you again in future streams. Good night, everybody. Now on the right,